Hey folks, it's Gerald. First off, I just want to say thank you. I really didn't expect to have this many subscribers on YouTube 1 year into making content. And it looks like you guys really enjoy my home tours and my neighborhood reviews, as well as some of the local restaurants that I enjoy eating at as well. So thank you so much for subscribing. I really do appreciate it. I know I turn the comments off on most of my videos. It's so that I don't have to deal with bots, but I do always leave a link if you want to reach out and leave some feedback because I'm always looking to improve. Now, on that note, I have had some comments that people would like to see some long-form content. And so on that note, I'm doing a video today. It's my first guest, so bear with me. I know I've done some Google Meet interviews before with some amazing people down in Tulum who there will be more on that in the near future. However, today I'm going to be talking to Adam Benni, who is a mortgage professional who I know and trust. Does an amazing job for my clients, but more importantly, he is also a conservative candidate for the federal Conservatives in Canada. Has some interesting views, and we had a really great discussion about the status of Canada right now, some of the issues that we're facing, some of the solutions that could happen, and kind of what the pathway forward is to make Canada the best country it can be for everyone. So with that in mind, here's my conversation with Adam Benni. And as always, appreciate the feedback because I'm always trying to make this channel better, provide great content. And if there's anything that you would like to see or anyone you would like me to talk to, I will try my very best to get that out there as well, in addition to the real estate content. So anyways, here's my conversation with Adam. Hope you enjoy it, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care. So Adam, we were talking last week, and we were talking about like youth unemployment, mortgage renewals, kind of like a bunch of economic things. And you had some great points about the top 3 things that Canadians can do to help themselves with the current job experience in today's labor market. Would you care to share that with our audience?
Yeah, so definitely. Actually, before I even jump into the discussion here, I was reading articles today that youth job unemployment has skyrocketed. And it's kind of at the level where we're kind of headed into a recession, especially when it comes to the youth. So it is unfortunate that a lot of the youth are not able to find jobs. Now, what I mean by jobs are good paying jobs anymore. There's a lot of reasons as to why this is happening. We can talk about the supply and demand of jobs in Canada, sure. What's happening. This is definitely in relation to immigration and many other factors as well. So yeah, it is a very concerning trend. A lot of the youth individuals who are maybe graduating from university or from getting out of high school, again, they're not able to find those jobs where they can be able to build their skills and enhance those skills, whether it's customer service, sales, and these are essential skills that they need, before they get into those great paying jobs, right? Yeah. So they're missing on a lot of opportunity. Well, I mean, in general, this is part of the trend in Canada. Like our unemployment rate is almost at 7%, and it's increasing as well. So what is happening in general? We don't have those good paying jobs anymore. So it's been, usually we like to blame someone for this, but let's talk about the current economic trends. So when we talk about jobs and opportunities, usually you will have more jobs when the economy is doing very well. And unfortunately, there's a economic stagnation, right?
Yes. And so like, just to clarify a little bit, like, when the economy is doing well and companies are growing, they need more talent.
Yes.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. When there's a job growth, then companies will invest more into hiring employees, right? So it'll be like a job growth. So maybe let's say you own a company and you want to open up another chapter, maybe another location, and so on and so forth. So now you need to hire more employees. So that's in an upward kind of trend. But right now we're on a downtrend, and when that's happening, then businesses they want to cut on their expenses and they won't be hiring as much anymore. If anything, they'll be laying off more people as well. And there's the trend that we're getting into in Canada. Now, in the last decade, I would say, if I may say the decade, you know what? We've been losing a lot of jobs. Factories have been going down south, whether it's going down to the US or maybe Mexico. We've been losing a lot of the just recently, look at the Bay. They just shut down, right? So businesses in Canada are not making profit anymore. And when a business doesn't make profit, they don't hire workers.
Would it be fair to say they're not making profit, they're not making opportunity?
Yeah, so if you don't make profit, then obviously there's no opportunity for that business to either hire, to continue in their business, or to even or to grow. Because when you're in business, you're not in business to make an X amount of profit, per year. You need to grow. You want to make more profit. You're in business to make profit. And if you're not making profit, then why would you want to continue paying the cost? And so if you keep so obviously in business we have fixed costs and variable costs, and a business that's not making money, and if we have economic stagnation, then the business would try to cut cost. And one of the biggest expense for any business is labor. So if anything, they've been laying off a lot of people. A lot of factories have been shutting down as well, right? So unfortunately, young people also, they're not going to be able to find jobs in there. Now, another problem I would say is the demand for jobs. So when we import, when we allow 1.6 million people to come into Canada, right?
Yep.
In various forms, whether they're immigrants,
Asylum seekers,
students, asylum seekers, refugees, you name it. 1.6 kind of seems to be the average, sometimes 1.5, 1.4. But that's a lot of people coming into the country, right? So when we have a lot of people coming here, they also need, what do they need? They need housing, which we don't have. That's something else we can talk about. They need jobs, which we don't have. So they compete for these jobs. So Canadians, and especially like young Canadians as well, they can't compete anymore. Because for each job, maybe when we have economic growth, maybe you'll have maybe 5-10 applicants. Now they're basically competing against maybe 200 applications, or maybe 1,000 even sometimes in some cases.
Some of the job fairs with lineups coming out the door for like entry level jobs. I think I can't remember if it was Western Fair or there's a job fair earlier this year where I remember seeing the lineup like out the door,
huge.
The street.
Oh yeah.
Question on that too.
Yeah.
Like, so I've been in London since 2010, and since then, like, the diversity in the city has grown quite a bit. And I noticed that, like, one, there's a lot better food options than there was when I first moved here.
For sure.
But one of the things I noticed is that, like my grandparents, when they moved to Canada, they went into business for themselves.
Yes.
But in order to do that, they needed to kind of assimilate, right? They needed to learn English.
Yeah.
They needed to kind of integrate into the community and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then with that, the community embraces them. They grow a business, and they, in turn, become successful and become a trusted ally and resource for the community as well.
Yeah.
I did notice that happening in London, but is that happening? And this is just an opinion thing. This isn't
sure.
But is this happening on the same scale, or is it more? Are we seeing less people getting into business for themselves because of the challenging economy when people arrive?
Yeah. So you're talking about entrepreneurs and why individuals are not getting into opening their own businesses. I mean, of course. I mean, the thing is, again, goes back to, so for you to open up a business and become successful at it, first you need to have the knowledge, the expertise. So assuming you have those two, that's great. That's gonna, and all you need to have the passion and also the will to take risk. Because for every self-employed, every entrepreneur, if you're not a risk taker, I don't think you're in the wrong industry, right? You must just go find a job, work 9 to 5 and get a salary job. So, but here's the thing: you also need to have, the economy has to provide you with the right conditions for you to, again, open up your business and excel. In a lot of cases, when you open up a business, usually it takes maybe a year, sometimes a year and a half, sometimes 2 years as well, right? To start making real profits. You may be breaking even, that's good, but then eventually you can start, growing and making profit. But one of the things about small businesses or any business, right? So what do they want? In order for you to make profit, you obviously need to have consumers who are willing to buy, or they would love to buy your product, right? Whether it's service, whether it's an actual product. But you also need to cut the bottom line, right? The cost of doing business, right? So we talked about, now this is something, so one of the things about Canada is that we have over regulations. So this is a major issue in Canada. So again, why businesses are shutting down and they're moving down south, or they're going to India or to China or many other businesses, is because we have way too much regulations. What does that do to the bottom line of every business? Is that it adds more cost, right? Than running a business. And again, I have huge respect for entrepreneurs because they don't work, we don't work 9 to 5, right? 24 hours a day sometimes. we were 7 days a week, right?
I think we were talking about that earlier too.
Right?
Like before the video.
Yeah.
You tend to work at least I would say probably at least 25% more hours
Yeah.
than your quote unquote day job on wage
Yeah.
or salary,
Yeah.
but it's on your own terms, right? So you might be working 11 o'clock at night, whereas before you were 9 to 5. But there's a certain aspect that you have to you're hunter gatherer.
Yeah.
Go and get it, right?
Absolutely. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, you're in real estate. I'm in mortgages. And we have a lot of deadlines that we have to meet, right? Yes. If you call me, say, Adam, here, listen, I need that pre-approval, right? And we only have 5 days to waive the financing condition, but we only have 5 days. So if I have to, sit down and do the work and do the application at 10 o'clock at night, or maybe work on the weekend, well, we have to do what we have to do to get that approval, right? And for you to secure that deal as well. So, and again, but here's the thing. It seems in Canada that the more you work, the more you pay taxes, and it's no longer rewarding.
Yes.
So it's like, so the system that we have. So again, we talk about regulations. Look, I'm okay with regulations because you do need to have some kind of a control to make sure that that the consumer is protected. Yeah. Also, regulations can help eliminating waste and corruption. It helps with all these. But over regulation,
like our highway system.
Yeah.
Right? In town, if you're in a school zone, the speed limit might be 30 or 40.
Yeah.
Right, and there might be speed cameras. On the 401 or 400 series highway, you're 100 or 110 because it allows for that. It's a different system that allows for more speed.
Yeah.
Whereas on the smaller roads, there's more regulation because there's less of a margin for error.
Yeah, and it's a matter of safety, right? Yep. So it makes sense in certain areas, but when it comes to businesses, again, more regulations means more cost to the business. Okay, and businesses need to make profit. So there's a profit margin that they have to achieve. Maybe you have, sales revenues and sales target and profit target that you need to achieve on an annual basis. And not just that, but you also want to be able to increase it.
Yes.
So if you make a profit of, let's say, around $200,000, $300,000 a year, the next year you would why don't you make maybe $500,000 or even make $1 million? Why not, right? Yeah. Again, what drives entrepreneurs to get into entrepreneurship and open up their businesses is profit. Profit is the number one reason as to why you want to invest and open up your own kind of practice or business. So we have way too much regulations. We pay way too much taxes. That's another issue.
I think everyone would agree with you on that one.
If you talk to anybody in any business, in any industry, they tell you that taxes are becoming punishable in Canada. I don't mind paying taxes as well, right? But it has to be. But I need to see the return on investment. Where's that money going? Where's it being invested, right?
I think most people are okay paying a high amount of taxes if they see value.
Yeah.
Right. And as entrepreneurs, that's part of what we do. Is we aim to provide value because we want to attract the best talent, a high income, and we want to contribute to the community. Yeah. Right. So when we have a punitive tax system, I think it takes away from all those silos. I think.
Yeah, and again, so is where's the money being invested? Are we so governments again? Who collects taxes? Governments. Governments are in the business of not running businesses. They shouldn't be running business. They shouldn't be. They're in the business of creating opportunities for us, for entrepreneurs, to open up our businesses and grow and make those profit. That's what it should be. So if we're paying taxes, of course, we can maintain those services and fixing roads and open up schools, fixing healthcare. I mean, again, are we happy about healthcare? Are we happy about the lack of schools as well, right?
Sure,
so there's a lot of things, but we're paying way too much taxes. If you look at for every dollar that we bring in, we're almost paying 60 cents per dollar. That's a lot of taxes.
That is a lot of taxes.
So and again, I don't mind paying taxes, but show me where the money is being spent. Is the money being collected to spend on services, and not just spend on services, but enhance the services as well? Because that's another issue. Like when you look at the healthcare expenditure in Ontario, it's one of the biggest. It's huge, right? Look at the service delivery.
It's not an efficient use of tax dollars.
Yeah, if something happens to you right now, you go to ER. Right now, so how do you measure efficiency? You go to ER. if you're spending 10 hours or 12 hours to see a doctor or a specialist, that tells you there's something wrong with the system, right?
I think it says something that of the people I know in the last year that have been to the ER, when something happens to them or a family member or someone they care about, the first thing they do is they go online and check the waiting times for different ERs before they make a decision on where to go, rather than prioritizing getting to the ER. I think that says something.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're kind of like talking about healthcare here, but then when it comes to businesses, again, going back to businesses, we need to make sure. So in order for us to keep businesses in Canada, right, and for businesses need to make profit, we need to cut their bottom line as well, the cost of funds, and so we have to cut the regulation, because regulation is a measure. It is very costly for businesses, and we need to also cut business tax as well. Because what happens when you cut business tax? Now you have more money to do what? To hire people.
Yep.
To do what? So they can do the work and grow your business. Ultimately, you want to grow your business, and that's the best way to do it.
I have a question for you.
Yeah, please.
What happens when you hire people and they start making money? What do they do with that?
Employees, what do they do with the money?
What do they do with their money?
Yeah, very good question. So this goes back to, again, I think one of your questions we began about, we had a discussion about, first-time home buyers, right? And what would it take for them to, qualify, first of all, and to be able to afford buying a house as well. So one of the things that we need to encourage, this is part of the education, is that every individual who makes money, if you make a salary, whatever it is, you need to be able to, first of all, you need to have a budget.
Sure. Yeah.
You never want to overspend, right? So if you're bringing in an income of, say, $3,000, $4,000 a month, you need to have a budget and make sure you're not spending more than what you're earning. That's the first thing you need to do. Two, you need to save a portion of that income. So one of the recommendations, so again, my background is, by the way, I've been in banking for almost 25 years.
Yeah, and I do want I've got some questions for you about that too. You've had like a fascinating career.
Right.
I'd love to dive a little deeper into that.
Yeah.
But sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, that's fine. So one of the things that I used to advise, so I was like a financial advisor. I used to advise basically, so when it comes to retirement planning, is that, so one of the basic recommendation is that, take 10% of your income and put it into an RSP or some sort of like a safety, some sort of a tax shelter plan, and just forget about it, right? Because one of the things about retirement as well, okay, so what do you want to do to achieve that retirement? You want to be able to retire comfortably. You want to have enough money so you can just enjoy life after you retire. But how do you build wealth? So building wealth. So one of the strategy of building wealth is not just to invest in RSPs and stocks and bonds and all that, but also to invest in property. Property should be one of the best, and it has been always one of the best tools to create wealth and to increase wealth as well. Right.
Yep.
Unfortunately, we've lost that as well. And we'll talk about the reasons what's happening.
Yeah, I did.
Right?
I did see some things that gave me pause for thought. It always gives me a little bit of anxiety. They were doing studies. I can't remember if it was CMHC or if it was government that was studying the effects of an equity tax on a principal residence.
Yeah.
And I think that scares a lot of people.
Yeah, it's becoming again, you're punished for making the right decision, the right financial decision, right? You're overtaxed because you've worked very hard, and we talked about entrepreneurs who work 7 days a week, right, in order to achieve wealth, right? And then you build wealth, you buy properties and so on and so forth. But again, it seems that the more money you make, the more taxes you have to pay, and it seems like good work is not punished. And so there's no more incentive for people. So now I know like a lot of clients, for example, they say, why do I need to make $100,000 a year? Because the more money I make, the more I have to pay taxes. No, I might as well just maybe I should maybe just make $60,000 and not pay that much taxes.
It's diminishing returns on effort.
100%, and that diminishes productivity, creativity as well, and the motivation to work as well. So, I mean, what happened? We can talk about what happened during, COVID and the CERB and the kind of culture that created, for a lot of people not to have that kind of an incentive to go back to work.
Talk about lack of efficiency in dollars spent. It's the whole CERB thing. I know there's people that need it very much. So,
100%.
And then there's other people that were collecting it that probably, almost definitely didn't need to.
No, exactly, and you can get $2,000 a month, but then why would I want to go and work 9 to 5 and get and pay minimum wage, and the cost of living has skyrocketed. That's another issue. So it's the lack of affordability. That's another problem that young entrepreneurs are facing as well. So sometimes there could be jobs available as well. So we talked about the lack of job opportunities, but then if there's a job opportunity, if you do the math and say, listen, I'm going to work 9 to 5. It's a lot of work. And then you look at the net after you pay income tax and so on and so forth. No, I might as well just go stay home. I'll stay with my dad's, my dad and my mom's, basement. I might as well just stay home, play video game. It's okay, and then that's it.
At least
I'm
enjoy
living,
your time if you're
right?
not gonna make anything, right?
Yeah,
On that note, too, like
yeah.
inflation has been wild over the last couple of years. Now
Yeah.
they say it's in check now, but one thing I was concerned about
Yeah,
is when we're talking about things like inflation and GDP,
yeah,
and GDP per capita specifically.
yes.
GDP, I think it's one of those. It's like your golf score with a friend who's like like a quote unquote not a great golfer.
Yeah.
They're gonna adjust that to suit their. It's the stat you can adjust to suit your needs.
100%.
And so when I think about
Yeah.
things like people moving here from other countries, like if we were to move to say Mexico or Germany or somewhere
Yeah.
where you can't just take your stuff and go with you,
Mm.
what's the first thing that you do? You buy furniture, you buy
Yeah.
food, you get a place to live, and that's
Yeah.
all short-term stuff. It's like a one-time purchase.
Yeah.
That I think would probably boost GDP overall, but not GDP per capita
Yeah.
over the short term, which I think would make a great headline if you're in government, but could actually be detrimental to the taxpayer.
Yeah, I mean, let's be frank. Let's simplify things because
Sure.
a lot of people don't know what GDP is. Gross domestic product. It's the total output of the economy. But then we said, but to be more specific, GDP per capita per individuals. Now here's the thing. The bottom line is the government can always come up and say, hey, here's the stats. We've tackled inflation. It's going down. But then when inflation was skyrocketing, everything doubled in price or sometimes tripled in price. So I remember buying olive oil, really good from Costco. I used to pay like $14. Now it's like $34 and it's still $34. Now, the problem with inflation is that it skyrocketed. It went up to almost 8%.
Yep.
But what about income and disposable income? So income did not catch up to the rise in prices. So when prices go down a little bit, it's still very, very expensive. They haven't really gone down. One of the things about
when inflation goes down a little bit, unless it's a negative, it's just going up slower. If I understand that correctly.
Yeah, and the thing is about inflation. I'm not sure if you know that inflation doesn't measure also the prices, the rise in prices in real estate. Real estate is not a factor in GDP at all.
No.
In inflation, in consumer price
It
index.
would be part of the asset class.
Yeah,
right? So,
yeah, exactly. So that's not. So here's the thing. Like right now, Canadians are spending a lot more on maintaining, on rent and mortgages and property tax and maintaining their homes and so on and so forth. That's not measured, right?
Yeah.
That all has gone up in price and it hasn't gone down at all. So yeah. So it's life is still expensive. We talk about lack of affordability. So and here's another issue about why individuals, entrepreneurs, again, we can talk about why they're not able to afford, buying a house, right? Again, the bottom line is that not only that we don't have jobs anymore, but we don't have good paying jobs, powerful paychecks.
Yep.
Right. That's another issue that's happening, and it's making a lot of first-time home buyers and entrepreneurs, even entrepreneurs in the sense of want to open up a business. There's no incentive anymore for them to make money. Again, it's the cost of living.
Yep.
It's over taxation, over regulation. So Canada is not really business friendly. Let's be frank about it.
Yep.
Right.
There's no insurance on assurance.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and people love stability. Like
Yes.
One thing I
Yeah.
know, like from my time in real estate, and I've been in real estate for
Yeah.
over 10 years,
Yeah.
is that every time there's a federal or provincial election, usually a month before and about 2 or 3 weeks after, real estate comes to a standstill. And it doesn't matter which party's getting voted in.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if the same
Yeah.
party's staying in.
Yeah.
People want that assurance that making a big decision is going to be okay. And
The security.
And
they-
opening a business
yeah.
is a big decision as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, everybody wants security at the end of the day, right? That's the bottom line. But again, when you talk about entrepreneurs, they're risk takers, right? They like to take risks. But then if when you open up a business, you got to do your business plan, and then when you look at your business plan and you do your feasibility study and so on and so forth, and if it doesn't make sense to you, if you're gonna be working, 7 days a week and you barely making like 5%, 10%, profit, why bother?
Yeah, it's a lot of effort for.
Yeah, exactly, because that takes away also a lot of your energy, health. It can be affected. So this is what we need to do here. I think that the role of governments are not to create jobs, but the role of government is to create opportunities. The opportunities for businesses to grow and for capital to come back into Canada.
Sure.
So we've been losing a lot of capital. So a lot of capital, like trillions of dollars, have gone from Canada, went down to South, or went down and went somewhere else. Why? Because again, Canada is overtaxed. Like there's a lot, again, business have to pay a lot of. Again, we can talk about capital gain tax. That's a huge problem, right? And over regulations. Over regulations makes things slow. So again, let's go back to the real estate business. I know so many builders. They said, Adam, we bought the land, but we don't want to build.
Doesn't make any sense for a lot of the builders I talk to. So it doesn't make sense to put a shovel in the ground right now.
No, absolutely, because they're not going to make money, and the cost of fund is too high. And also for them to now it's getting a little bit better when it comes to getting that license to start excavating and so on and so forth, but still very, very, very slow.
Well, and every home is like its own small business, right? You're starting something from scratch.
Yeah.
And you have an expected outcome.
Mm-hmm.
But when the market's unsteady, you don't know if your customer is there.
Exactly. And now...
on the flip side, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
The buyer is unsure about buying a new build home because they don't know what's going to happen in 6 months.
Yeah. Yeah, and what if what if a buyer buys a property today, and we know that properties have been going down in values. So if you want to buy a property today at $800,000, what if that property goes down maybe to to $750, or
Sure.
maybe I should wait, so I don't want to buy. Same idea for someone who wants to sell. You want to, now they're not, so they bought. So I know so many who bought houses in the last few years. Let's say they bought a house at $1 million. Today it's like worth $800,000. They've lost equity in there, and even some of them, their mortgages actually is higher than the value of the house.
I was actually going to ask you a question about
Yeah.
that, because there's a term, the Great Renewal.
Yeah.
That's happening in Canada as we speak, and expected to happen over the next couple of years.
Yeah.
I think there was something like 2.2 million.
2.2 million mortgages are up for renewal.
Up for renewal.
Yeah.
And with a let's call it a shift in the market.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what are some of the things that you've done, like as a local expert who works nationally?
Sure.
What are some of the things that you would advise, or some of the things that you've done for families to kind of help them navigate those waters?
Yeah. So I remember when I was doing mortgages and the rate was like 2%, 2.1, 2.2, and a lot of them who bought houses like $1 million, $1.2 million. So let's assuming that their monthly payments was like, I say, $3,000. Now the rate has doubled. I would say, like right now, rate hovers around 4.3%, right? It has gone down, like it was like a 6% at one time, but that's almost gonna. So they're gonna see their mortgage payment double in terms of, if you're paying $3,000, you could be paying $6,000 right now, or maybe $5,000, but your income hasn't gone up.
Yep.
So the cost of living has gone up. Everything has become so expensive. Your income didn't catch up to inflation, and now your interest rate has gone up as well. They're gonna be in a very financial stress, and that's gonna be a big issue. So we're anticipating certain homeowners are going to just go to the bank and say, "Here's the key. Sorry, we can't pay our mortgage anymore."
And I'm probably too young to say that I remember it, but I remember hearing stories about this in the 80s and 90s when the mortgage rates were, I think I heard some as high as 21%.
Yeah.
But specifically, like with people in Alberta, like with the economy is crashing out there.
Yeah.
I think they called it jingle mail. People would send their keys to the bank, and you'd never hear from them again.
Yeah, that could happen as well. So the advice is another thing, because of inflation, a lot of homeowners, have been relying on credit to live. They were living off credit. So the cost of living has gone up. Whether it's gas, whether it's food, the cost of living has gone up. So, but their income didn't go up, right? So you got to pay your fixed costs, but you still need to eat. So they went and they pulled lines of credits, equity line of credit, and they've used that to buy food and to pay for all the expenses.
And now their cost of living has gone up further because now they're paying interest every month.
Well, there you go. So eventually, so if you keep borrowing to eat, so it's okay if you use your credit card, buy groceries, and then pay off, the balance at the end of the month.
Sure.
But if you just basically keep borrowing and keep making minimum payment and thinking, oh yeah, I can afford it now, but there's gonna be a time where you're gonna hit a wall and you're not gonna be able to pay those monthly payments, and a lot of Canadians are in debt. So there's so many of them who are, when I actually, even first-time home buyers, they come to me here, and when I do a mortgage application, they're in massive debts. They have like 5 or 6 credit cards, and they have lines of credits, and they have leases. I mean, that's the situation that we're in. So it is very troubling. Now, one of the things about those who already have a house and now their mortgage is coming up for renewal, one of the things I advise is that, you know, the sooner you do a refinance and debt consolidation, the better. Because one of the things is that if clients have been relying on credit, you know, to live off, to buy food and pay all these expenses, and they have massive debts, right? And we're talking about hundreds and 200,000. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, and you look at the interest rate. If you have a credit card and you're paying 20%, 25%, you have multiple credit cards, and you have a car loan, and you have lines of credits at 10% or whatever, most of your money is servicing debt, right?
What does that remind you of, just out of curiosity?
Sorry?
What does that remind you of the federal economy at all?
Sure. Sure it does. So what happens when you overspend, right? When you overspend, and especially without a budget, as we talked about. So spending too much without a budget, right? Eventually you're gonna hit a wall. You're not gonna be able to continue, you know, to service the debt. And you might end up filing for bankruptcy or something like that. So before you get to that situation, and also you really, really want to avoid making late payments, right? Sure. Especially if you want a mortgage renewal. So because a lot of the banks right now,
you want your credit score to be high, right?
Because one of the things that most Canadians don't know is that the bank has the right to say no for mortgage renewal. If you've been late several times, right, and then you catch up, and then you're late, then you catch up, they might just say, you know what, we don't want to renew your mortgage.
It's a high maintenance client for them. Right?
100%. No, high risk as well, because at the end of the day, the bank wants to minimize risk, and if they see the client, you know, hitting a wall and they're not going to be able to, especially now that we're talking. So if you can't afford $3,000 mortgage payment, now your mortgage is $5,000.
What's going to happen?
What's going to happen? So I've heard also, you know, situations where clients who had equity lines of credit, like HELOCs, let's say $500,000 on open line of credit, the banks are actually calling them and say, we want to reduce it from 500 to 400, even 300,000.
I've heard about that, yeah.
Right? Yeah. Because again, they don't want them to go because they know they're not going to be able to pay, right?
They want to reduce their exposure, right? From the bank side.
100%. So what I say is that if you're getting into that situation and you've missed maybe one payment, right away try to go. Don't wait until interest rate go down, because just go ahead and do a refinance. Yeah. It will cost you a little bit maybe in terms of, you know, penalty. If the penalty is okay, you might pay like $10,000, $15,000, but then it's better than continue to pay interest of, you know, based on 25% for a credit card, especially if you have a lot of credit cards and so on and so forth. So one of the things that basically I do for the clients is that, you know what, list all the debts, all the credit cards. What is the monthly payment that you're paying right now? And if we can be able to switch your mortgage to a different lender, consolidate all of your debts, right? And if your monthly payment, right, if you're paying on a monthly basis right now, let's say $5,600 or $6,000 a month, if you can be able to reduce it and free up some cash flow, maybe $2,000, would you want to do that? Sure. And the short answer, you should do it before you start making late payments, right? Yeah. So that's what should happen. And here's another thing about you know, if you have a mortgage with a bank, and assuming you've been with the bank for, I don't know, 10 years or what have you, don't assume that you're going to get the best rate because you have a great relationship with the bank. So shop around, right? Yep. There's a lot of options out there, right? And there's a lot of companies, mortgage companies, who are much more aggressive than let's say a bank. A bank might give you a good rate as well, don't get me wrong. But there are options right there. Shop before you commit and sign anything. I highly recommend that.
Yeah, so it's a competitive industry, just like real estate. I mean, they're all kind of rolled together, but it's like, you know, if you're getting the brakes done on your car and you don't like the quote the mechanic gives you, you're going to get a second opinion. Yeah. So why wouldn't you do that on something that costs so much more? Yeah, absolutely. At every month. Yeah, and well, the beautiful thing about, again, I if I may mention, because I'm a mortgage broker, I have access to 270 lenders. Yeah. So. Again, you know, talk to your bank, see what the rate is, but make sure you shop around, right? Well, and with a mortgage broker too. Yeah. Just to kind of clarify too, like if you go to a bank, it's kind of like going to a Best Buy to buy a computer. They have computers there, and you're going to buy one off the shelf. But if you want like a great computer, You can go to like a component store, and they will put a better computer together for you, probably for less money. Mortgage brokers don't just have like a package where it's like mortgage ABC. They can pull funding from different sources. So when you say you have 200 lenders, like your clients may actually get a mortgage from their existing bank partially, but they'll also get a better rate.
Yeah, exactly. So what I was trying to say is that again, why work with a broker? Obviously, it's because it's just a one application, and then one of the main job of a broker is to find the cheapest rate. And the thing is, when you shop, if you have a mortgage with a bank, that's just the one bank, that's one product, right? They could be good. I'm not saying that the bank might not give you a good option. They might actually give you a great rate. It happens, but not always. But then, okay, so you want to go to RBC, you want to go to TD, you want to go to CIBC, now you're gonna have to go everywhere. So rather than you doing all these, shopping around and meeting and making calls and all that, well, the broker does it all for you. One application, we send it to all the lenders, banks, mortgage, whatever, and then whoever gets us, the best rate, that's the one we go for.
Well, one of the things I find too, and kind of rolling back to our conversation about entrepreneurs. I've had clients, and I've had the experience myself when I bought my first home. Is you're doing your mortgage through a bank, and the bank is 9 to 5.
Yes.
And after 5 o'clock, they don't pick up the phone.
True.
And then I've also had the circumstance where you have someone who's an absolute rock star at the bank. They're fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Maybe the best mortgage person you've ever worked with.
Of course.
And then they get moved to a different role. And then they don't send out like a, hey, heads up, here's who's covering your file now.
Sure.
You're just kind of like, well, who do I talk to now?
Yeah.
Right?
No, it's at the end of the day, it's who you do business with, of course. Customer service, it's the individual that you're dealing with. And I'm not saying that, look, I've been a banker for pretty much most of my life, right? But I decided to go on the mortgage side because of these different options. And also talking about options is that, a lot of lenders can take more risk than banks. So banks can be more conservative when it comes to lending, but there are many lenders who can take more risk.
Sure.
Costs a little bit more, tiny more, but it can also save you thousands of dollars as well. So the options are there.
I think in terms of like people that are doing like tear downs and rebuilds and stuff like that, like people who build for a living.
Yeah.
Who maybe need, it might cost a bit more on the mortgage side.
Yeah.
But they know the at the end zone, the expectation is X, and so that is just the cost of doing business.
Yeah.
And that's what you need to do to kind of get there as well. Like it's another vehicle to get
Oh
to
yeah.
the end goal.
And if you have a good accountant, you can actually claim that interest cost as an expense, and there you go. Now you saved on taxes.
Amazing.
That's like a tax strategy. So that's kind of the discussion that I usually have, with the client.
Perfect. Why don't we change gears here for a second?
Sure.
So we met during the run up to the federal election.
Yes.
Like we kind of crossed paths. I was like, Adam's a cool guy.
Yeah.
We're in the relationship business, and it's
Right.
all about working with people who you respect,
Yes.
who are interesting, and who are fun to work with.
Right.
And it so happens that we crossed paths during the federal election. You were a candidate for the Conservative Party.
Correct.
Now it didn't end up the way that we hoped.
Yeah.
However,
Yeah.
probably learned a lot along the way.
100%.
And like what are some of the things that maybe, like especially young Canadians, don't know about MPs? Like what is the role of an MP, and what does that kind of look like? And why is it important for young people to maybe have this knowledge and get involved?
Yeah. One thing is, before I talk about the role of an MP, like a member of parliament, so again, just to define an MP, a member of parliament would be your federal representative for your constituency. And then you might have MPP, member of provincial parliament, that's on a provincial level, and you've got the city council. We have 3 levels of government, right? Yes. The city of London, the city council, city of London, municipality. You've got the Ontario provincial government, and then we've got the federal. So ultimately, first and foremost, an MP is a person who serves the constituency. Okay, they're public service employees, basically, right? Yep. They're paid by you and I, by the public, right? By us. Their main job is to represent your concerns as a constituents, right? All of us have concerns, whether the issue could be you have an issue with your passport, or you have issue with CRA, or you have so things on a federal level. So again, there are federal jurisdictions and there's provincial jurisdictions.
Sure.
On a federal level, on a federal level, it's about trade. It's about immigration. So immigration is key. It's a big part of it. Passport. So the MP and the constituents in the office, they serve all of anybody who has got issue with immigration papers, with their passports, but also they also represent and many other concerns. It's also about and again giving back to the community. The MP's role or any politician's role is to do what? It's to give back to the community. And in politics, there's always going to be issues. There's always going to be problems. And at the end of the day, we live in a democracy. And one of the beautiful things about Western democracies is that we have the right to exercise, that we can vote.
Yep.
And voting is really essential. One of the things that we keep finding in younger voters is that they don't have that much interest in voting. They go to school, they're busy with school, and then they have to find a job and so on and so forth. And they think, you know what, I'm still living with my parents. I don't have too much headaches. I don't have to worry too much about expenses, so on and so forth. But guess what? Once you graduate, you need a job.
Yep.
If the government is not creating opportunities for good paying jobs, which we started this conversation about the young people, why they can't find a job, wouldn't you want to make a decision and perhaps enhance the opportunity for you to find a job? How do you do this? Is by basically looking around for all the different parties, right?
Sure.
Whether you're conservative, liberal, NDP, whatever the case is, and find that party that's going to meet your needs.
Yes.
Right?
It's like the perfect time
Yeah.
for someone to be selfish. Right? You should vote for what's important to you.
Yeah.
Not important to your friends, not important to
Yeah.
your employer.
Yeah.
You vote with what's important to you.
Yeah, what's in it for me as a voter, right? What are my needs? And all of us will have different needs. Like if you're at the age of retirement, you have different needs at someone who was just graduating from university or high school, whatever the case is, right? Or maybe someone who was single versus married, or someone with kids or no kids. So we all have different needs. But one of the things I encourage young people to do is to go and vote. Because here's the thing: if you don't vote, then, to be frank with you, if we don't vote in general, we shouldn't complain about the outcome.
No.
If we need to change the outcome for a better outcome, well, we have the tool. We have the democratic tool to go ahead and vote.
Yes.
And so we can be able to make those changes. And I highly encourage everybody to go out and vote. GOTV.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Everybody should go out and vote.
So one of the things I was unaware of until probably in my 30s, and full disclosure, I voted, I think, for every major federal party.
Yeah.
Throughout my life, I think the saying goes, like, if you don't vote NDP or Liberal when you're young, you don't have a heart, and if you don't vote Conservative when you're older, you don't have a brain, right? Like that's
Gotcha.
kind of the joke, right?
Sure.
Because I think more people get into business for themselves when they're older too, or like conservative financial policies seem to make more sense. Maybe, I don't know.
Okay.
Just
Yeah.
spitballing ideas.
Yeah.
But if you're unhappy with all of the candidates,
Yeah.
you can actually go to vote and put your vote back in and say, I rescind my vote, and it counts. It says, I voted for nobody. I wasn't satisfied with any of the candidates at this election.
I highly encourage everybody not to be discouraged. So one of the things about why there's a lack of, why an individual doesn't want to vote, right? I know people, they said, Adam, when I was knocking on doors and doing canvassing during the last federal election, many people tell me, Adam, listen, we've lost faith in politics and politicians.
Sure.
Because one of the things that's been happening in Canada, and again, this is a trend that's been happening again in the last decade, or maybe again, I don't want to keep saying decade. One of the things that's been happening is that politicians, and again, I remember this conversation. One of the constituents, she told me, Adam, we want politicians to listen to us more and not to preach and not to impose their decisions on us. It seems that politicians, again, I'm not going to generalize, there's great politicians, but it seems that we have governments are not, again, they're not listening more to our needs as voters, as constituents, and then they're coming up with policies that are detriment to finding great jobs, detriment to affordability, detriment to the security of our city here, London, and in Canada as well. Crime is on the rise and so on and so forth.
Sure, yeah.
So governments matter. They do have policies, and policies can can sway either way, right?
Yeah.
Either they'll fix the problem, or they can exacerbate the problem as well.
Sure. And if they exacerbate the problem, that's something to kind of make a note of for the next election, because it's important to you and you'll remember it and you can voice it. Like in the lead up to an election.
Yeah.
Again, one of the things I didn't do probably until I was in my 30s.
Yeah.
And I think it's super valuable for anyone who hasn't done it before is when candidates are speaking on the campaign trail, go to where they're speaking because you can ask questions.
Yeah.
You can make your points important.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure they're well thought out. And
yeah,
stuff like that,
I think all of us should be well informed about the issues, and the way you get well informed. So I mean, so politics has been an interest for me. I studied political science at Western, and but then that's I studied the subject, right? So I'm well versed with it because this is what I studied. But a lot of us actually are busy in our lives. We just want to work. Some they just want to raise a family. They're busy with their day-to-day life, and they don't know all the intricacies and the details of politics and policy making until election time. They start kind of opening the news, but then they talk about the news. Let's talk about the news as well, because that's another thing. You have to be very careful about which news you're watching, and where is it coming from, right?
Yeah, I have a lot of apprehension.
Yeah.
With listening to. And this isn't a Canadian thing. This is an international thing.
Yes.
But I have a lot of apprehension around listening to news that is funded by the government.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm on YouTube. I'm on Instagram.
Yeah.
We're funded by subscribers and by sponsors, and that has its own bag of worms, right?
Yeah.
Own can of worms. But it's the issue I have is when you go on like a platform like Ground News, or there's a bunch of different platforms, or if you have the time to listen to like independent news sources like Juno News or Elevate Podcasts is another great one I find. These other platforms, nobody has all the knowledge, right? Like nobody knows everything all the time.
Yeah.
But by listening to multiple sources from different angles, you get a better idea of what's 100%. Going on. But I feel like, and this is maybe this is just me judging people, but the older generation that has the habit of watching and listening to the news on the TV and radio are getting a very singular view of our nation. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, and again, we talk about demographics, right? So I would say the baby boomers, they, of course, a good portion of them, maybe they go and they watch. They're very familiar with technology, like they have YouTube accounts and Facebook and so on and so forth. But many of them, they just basically watch the so-called legacy media, like talk about mainstream media, which is historically CBC, CTV, Global News, whatever. Okay, which that's there. That's one segment of the voters. But what I encourage everybody is that listen to all narratives.
Yes.
So whether you voted, maybe at one point in time you voted conservative, now you voted liberal. Maybe you voted, a liberal, now you voted conservative, or then you voted NDP. I don't believe in ideologies. I'm not idealistic. What matters the most is which party provides the best solutions to fix the problem of today.
Which is the best tool for the job?
Exactly. That's what it is. Is it? Again, I'm biased because I'm a conservative. I can say that we do have. I would say we do have the best solutions for the problems that we're facing here. But
we've seen some of those solutions rolled out after the election by the Liberal Party because they were such a great idea.
It's a great idea. They borrowed them. They took them from. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we can talk about this. It was a lot of interesting things happened during the election time. But what I'm saying is that. Okay, what is it being informative? You want to make an informative decision. You want to make an educated decision. As a voter, I highly recommend that you look at both sides of the narrative, of the political spectrum, right and left. And by the way, this is again a very kind of small advice. When you listen to news or a narrative, you want to be careful that it's not too biased.
Yes.
Okay, sometimes it's a propaganda. Sometimes that news reflect a certain narrative.
Yes. And on that note, I find I think what we're both kind of the idea we're kicking around is by listening to both sides.
Yeah.
I think it helps expose things like mis and disinformation.
Disinformation.
Right? Yeah. Like if you're listening to both sides, you're like, I kind of heard that, I kind of heard that, and that sounds pretty out there, and like this side's providing sources, or this side's providing sources, and that side feels a little
So here's what I recommend. If you're listening to, let's say, a leftist media that is usually leftist, and when they talk about, obviously they're going to be biased toward leftist, ideology. That's fine. But if they want to talk about the right, assume that there's going to be a bias there.
Sure.
So if you want to look at the conservative solution, go to conservative media. Now, conservatives don't have a mainstream media, so mostly it's YouTube and social media and so on and so forth. A lot of grassroots, I highly recommend that you learn about conservative values, conservative policies from conservatives themselves, not from biased media, and vice versa. If you're a conservative voter and you want to learn about, maybe leftist solutions, go ahead and watch it from there. I mean, it's good to hear from both sides, and that's how you become much better educated in terms of, okay, what decision, what is the best solution for the problem that we're facing?
There's always that middle ground, right? Like I feel like
100%.
95% of Canadians are probably center left or center right.
We're
so close to the middle, and then the voices that a lot of us hear in the media on both sides of the table are like further out.
So one of the things that I really recommend that you don't listen to, say, okay, so when we hear about the conservative, all those far rights, is there a far right element on the right? Yes, of course, but there's also far left.
Oh, for sure.
So there are extremes in both political spectrum.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. Canadians are centered. Center center left or center right? So we're closer to the center, and in my view, moderation and balance is the best.
I think that's and I think with the moderation too, like when everyone's close to the center,
100%.
The conversations don't get as heated.
Yes.
Right? Like it's easier to go to the other side of the table and see how they see things from their side.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's a wide table, or far left and far right, it's that much more effort to get there and see how they see it.
And I don't like far right and I don't like far left, because these guys are very these two narratives are very polarized, and what they do, they end up dividing the Canadian political discourse.
Yes, I feel like it's very antagonistic.
And we lose. And what do we lose in this process? We lose civility.
Yes.
Okay. So what is one of the I would say one of the best, if you want to talk about Western democracy, one of the best value for Western democracy, and why Western democracies are, I would say, the best systems in the world, is because we can be able to disagree passionately, me and you, while maintaining civility. Let's argue on policies passionately. Let's debate, right?
Yeah.
But let's keep the respect.
One thing,
that's civility. If you lose civility, you lose everything.
Then you're fighting.
Then we start fighting, and then it's not going to be beneficial for the voters, right?
No.
And we don't want to get into that situation.
One of the things that I've started doing at work, and so full clarity, like I have my own office, I'm in charge of what we listen to, and most of the time we all kind of enjoy the same things.
Yeah.
But we listen to question periods, and we watch CPAC, and it's always interesting. Like we joke around the office that a lot of times question period is definitely not answer period.
Yeah.
Right. We get a lot of questions asked, we don't get a lot of answers. But what's interesting is when you see committees meeting, and the interviews after question period, because reporters will ask questions, and it is a pretty diverse group of people asking questions outside House of Commons. I think for people that don't watch that yet, if you watch reality TV, you are wasting your time, because CPAC and House of Commons is so much more interesting and applicable to your everyday life.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Now again, it's how many have the time to watch CPAC and others? I mean, again, we all have busy lives. This is part of the issue. And again, most Canadians, they start getting interested in politics during election time, or a little bit before election time. But here's the thing, and I have to mention, and it's not me being negative. The reality is that the Canadian dream, let's call it the Canadian dream, is no longer achievable.
Yeah, I would say that's fair.
We talk about the younger generation. A lot of the younger generations right now, they can't afford buying homes anymore. They can't, when we talk about the cost of living, is so high that they can't, survive. A lot of the young people are still living with their parents at the parents' basement. That is a fact. Crime is on the rise. Healthcare is not as good as it used to. We talked about the wait time, right?
Sure,
If you want to see a specialist of some sort, sometimes you have to wait like a year or 2 years to get an appointment. Now, here's the thing: is this normal? Is this normal? And is it acceptable
I feel like
for Canadians in Canada? And should we tolerate that?
I don't think we should.
I don't think we should, because I'm not sure if you agree with me, Gerald. We live in one of the richest countries in the world.
I think, okay, different levels of that, right? So we have the economy, which has incredible potential.
Yes.
Right? We're mineral rich, resource rich, people rich.
Yeah.
Right? Culturally, I would say especially the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
I would say culturally, we are like a very strong, admired culture as Canadians. I feel like some things have happened in the last 5 or 6 years that have kind of shifted that.
Yeah.
I think there's a few other countries going through the same thing.
Yes.
But I think we're one of the best, not only the best countries, but the best potential countries.
Yeah. I mean, look at how massive Canada is. Yep. We have a population of almost like 40 million plus or whatever. Right. We have massive land. We have tons of resources. We are rich in pretty much anything you can think of. But why do we have Canadians? Why do we have couples who are working not just 2 jobs, but in some cases, I actually met when I was knocking on doors and canvassing, some of them, they were working like 4 jobs, 4 part-time jobs, in order for them to feed their kids and to pay bills. This is not acceptable. We should not accept that.
I feel like we see more of, and this is a demographic shift, but we see more of the asset class, and then we see the gig job economy trying to get there. And it's 2 very different things, because the asset class never did the gig job economy, right? It's like oil and water. And it's a challenging thing, because the gig job economy doesn't have, you can't say I'm starting here and then I'll be a manager, and then I'll be a C-suite executive, and I'll work my way up. I was reading an article. I'd be interested to see your opinion on this.
Yeah.
In today's economy, in North America, so America, like US and Canada, it makes more sense for young workers in a professional setting now to leave their job and negotiate a better wage at a new job than it is to stay the course of their current role and get promoted. Yeah.
I mean, but that has always been the case.
Yeah.
Like it's always, sometimes like if you work for the same company 2 or 3 years, for you to get that sort of career advancement, if you want to jump your salary from, let's say, 60 to 80, in a lot of cases you don't find it in where you are, and then you have to go and change jobs. I mean, that seems to be the trend. Actually, the trend also is that most workers nowadays, they don't stay with the same job more than 2 or 3 years. They have to keep changing all the time. It's becoming the trend nowadays.
Yeah, it used to be the 40-year career. Then it was you'll change jobs 2 to 3 times in your career, and now it's 5 to 6 or 6 or 7. But it was something to do along the lines of, from a hiring standpoint, when a company promotes someone from within, now they're paying more for an existing employee, and they need to hire and train, which is a costly process.
It is a costly process too.
To bring someone new in with no guarantee of success as well.
True.
So I always worry about rolling back to the youth unemployment. Missing out on job experience now is going to hinder them down the road in their careers, because they're missing the customer service jobs that you typically kind of graduate from. Yeah.
So what makes an individual successful as well at jobs? I mean, so first of all, okay, so what do you need to be successful? You need to have the education. You got to have education, but you also need to have this hands-on working experience. Because again, at the end of the day, when you have an interview, right? They look at your CV. Okay, so you have education. You've probably gone to Western or Fanshawe, whatever the case is, and then they see if you have any working experience, right? And if you don't have that, or maybe you don't have any volunteer work and so on and so forth, one of the things that we know is that there are skills that you can learn, but there are skills that you have to you learn it by time. It's by doing the actual job. It's by again when we talk about multitasking.
Sure.
Right? When we talk about managing we talk about emotional intelligence, right? Why is it that certain individuals are able to do multitasking very efficiently without getting stressed, right? And take pills so they can continue work. Yeah. And others, they just, if they do like a couple of tasks, they say they go crazy. They don't have those kind of mental skills as well. Yeah. So those sometimes you have to learn by time. You develop them by time, by going from a job to a job or so on and so forth.
It's like learning a knack from one job and creating an efficiency that allows the kind of like your bandwidth to allow more responsibility.
Yeah, and character, you build character through time and through hard work as well.
Sure, yeah.
You know what? Look, I my first job was I was a dishwasher.
Yep.
No problem there. Like, what is it? Right? then I went to Mr. Sub and I was making subs and all that. So, do you learn anything from those types of jobs? Sure, they pay minimum wage, but of course you do.
Yeah,
you work long hours. You do the hard work, and that builds
I think one of the big things
character.
that we must do is learning how to work with others. Because if you're delivering food or driving people around like an Uber, and there's no judgment around that. People are making ends meet.
Yeah.
But if you're a delivery driver on your own all day, you're never going to learn to work in that team environment unless you just have like an innate ability to do so.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a really, really important thing is the relationship building within the workspace, I think.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to be working with people, you better have, you got to have those people skills. And the way you learn people skills is by actually interacting with people. If you're just going to be sitting on a computer and do a job on a computer, I mean, that's it. That's basically what you get used to. And if you do this for a long period of time, and all of a sudden now you have a job where you have to work with people, work in team as well. So this is one of the things that I teach as well, and some of the courses that I teach is, we emphasize on doing projects. Projects. What's the number one skill that you learn in project is working with someone else. Yeah. And working with someone else, by the way, it's not easy. We all have different personalities. You might have different opinions. We might have some clash of ideas, right? And how do we be able to work together efficiently in order to achieve this, business goals and so on and so forth. So these opportunities are lost. Working at McDonald's, working at the Tim Hortons, these are jobs that a lot of young people they want, and they can't find those anymore. By the way, that's another issue.
I had a co-op student last semester, and she works at McDonald's. Yeah. Still to this day. Yeah. And it's changed a lot since I was her age. Right. I didn't have McDonald's in my town growing up, but when I was in college, I didn't work there, but I worked at another fast food chain. Yeah. But the actual culture around the job has changed in that they get messages on an app from their employer and stuff like that. But it ties that community together, and they're constantly in communication with the people they work with. And all these kids go to different high schools. Some are full-time employees. And when she came to me as a co-op student, if she wasn't old enough to get a real estate license, but if she was, she'd be an absolute rock star. Like she's learned those skills in a very short amount of time. Yeah. Because it's like, I think there's something to when you're in school and you're in that I need to learn now mode, and there's deadlines for everything you do. I think young people pick up those skills very quickly. Yeah. And so that's kind of what worries me about the economy right now and youth unemployment is we won't have people like that co-op student who can walk into a real estate office as a 17-year-old and crush everything she needs to do, and everyone around here loved her, thought she did a great job. What happens when the person that's been, driving Uber for 5 years to save up money to get their license comes in and they've never worked with anyone or practiced building relationships or worked in a collaborative environment, right? I think that changes a lot about our future economy. Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, these essential skills, they have to be. You have to earn them. It's not something that you can just say, "Hey, I want to do this. I want to implement this task or this kind of a skill." It's something that you learn through time and through certain types of jobs and so on and so forth. And if those jobs are not available, then you're not really building the essential skills for you to succeed in, whether you're going to be a real estate or like a kind of like a people relationship in a relationship setting, right? Even as an entrepreneur, like you need to build relationships with partners, whether it's a supplier or a future customer or something like that. Like that's just kind of where my head goes to is that the loss of those skills would be really detrimental to our future economy.
Multitasking. I mean, that's the issue. If you're really good at multitasking, you'll succeed. But some of us are much better at adapting quickly, and others it takes a longer time. And we're and again, the best way to build those skills is by having those jobs, which we no longer have. Now, we talked about good paying jobs, but now for younger people can't even find jobs at Tim Hortons or at McDonald's. Again, what is the issue? The issue is that, again, they're competing against hundreds of people who are looking for that particular job, and they're no longer competitive. Yep. Right? Again, we talked about, immigration. That's a big problem, and we talk about it. This is not about us being anti-immigrant. No. But immigration, at one point in time, it made a lot of sense. We bring in individuals, we vet individuals, they come in, they invest in this country, and there's an economic need. So the numbers was based...
They're vetted and skilled.
Vetted and skills, and it's based on economic need. Now, why on earth, while we have a tanking economy, we're actually increasing the amount of people coming into the country?
And the money going out.
Right, and money going out. So those individuals will come here. I have nothing against individuals coming in or immigrants, but here's the thing: immigrants need housing, which we don't have. They need jobs, which we don't have. But what are we doing? Like, I feel sorry for them.
I was just going to touch on that. It's not only the Canadian economy, the Canadian workers that are victims. It's also the people coming here.
The people coming here.
Under the promise of the Canadian dream.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist for them.
Yeah, like I know many of them. Like, you'll find sometimes, like, in a 2-bedroom apartment, you have like 10 people living in there. Like, it's so undignified living. This is not the Canadian dream.
It's easy for people that were born here, work here, raised here, to look at that and be like, they shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of the coin, a lot of them were promised something that didn't exist to begin with.
Yes.
And I think if you offer them the chance to earn an income,
they will
live on their own.
They will work. Yeah.
They would do that.
Yeah, 100%. I blame the system.
Yep.
The system failed everybody. It failed the locals. It failed Canadians, and also failed those who came in with that promise of finding a job and achieving that Canadian dream. Right?
Yep.
Both of them have lost that. They can't achieve the Canadian dream. And did you know that it is a fact that now we see even some of them who live in GTA, they're actually going homeless as well. They're going to food banks as well, and to try to so they can be able to survive because they can't find jobs anymore. Yep. That is shameful. That's not the Canadian way.
No.
So, yeah.
And it's like. It's a difficult conversation because I know, and I hate to say some people, but some people will jump on it and say, well, that's racist or that's, and like at the end of the day, it's a logic argument. I find like I think if you asked 100 people that if you could provide an opportunity for someone from anywhere in the world and it would make their life better, would you say yes? I think 99 or 100 people would say yes.
Yeah,
it'd be pretty close to 100. The problem is the information that's going out and coming back is incorrect.
Yeah.
And I feel like the economic data is maybe lagging on that, or there's some ne'er-do-wells that are profiting from the process.
Yeah. I mean, look, our immigration system is, I have to say the word, and might sound negative, it's broken.
Sure.
So it is a fact. There's no other way to describe the immigration system. Look, all of us are immigrants. I'm an immigrant. I'm a son of an immigrant.
Yeah, my family came from Holland.
There you go, right? And when my parents came here, my dad was a photographer, and my mom was a French teacher. So they had those skills before they came here. They applied. They were vetted. Criminal background. They brought in money. They invested, and they were very well integrated. Look at me. I'm a success story. Thanks to my parents, and we are very well integrated. One of the things that we need to do with anybody who comes to this country is that what are we doing to make sure that person, that immigrant, is well integrated into the system?
Yep.
Not just well integrated in terms of finding a job and opportunity, but also into the values of Canada. And this is another issue that we don't do such a good job at as well.
I have some thoughts on that.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. So my thing is this, and I always go back to logic.
Yeah.
Like, if this was me, what would I do? If I go to a country where I don't speak the language.
Yeah.
And I don't have a job, and I'm getting funded either by my home country or the country that I'm residing in.
Yes.
And I can move to a community where there is people that speak my language and hold my values that I currently have.
Yes.
Do I have a reason to integrate?
Yeah. No.
No.
I mean, there's no incentive for you to immigrate. So when it talks about immigration as well, is that this is kind of the debate that's happening, right and left, right?
Sure,
between both narratives, right? And they both have, reasons for why, when it comes to immigration, and how do we best, how can we be able to have, what is the best immigration, policy or system, and so on and so forth. But one thing, if I may call it common sense, okay? Yep. Now we have to be very careful when we say common sense, because then we're labeled
different people.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, for whatever reason, now we become far right, which isn't the case, right? Common sense is common sense. It's moderation. Common sense is for anybody who comes to this country need to be integrated into the values of this country. So we need to do a better job at educating. First of all, it's kind of funny. Like, even I'm talking about even Canadians in general.
Yep.
Like, again, when I teach and when I ask questions, my students, I ask them certain questions about Canadian history, Canadian values. A lot of them don't know the Canadian history. They don't know.
It's shocking.
The values that founded this country as well, right? Yep. And here's the thing: if for any country to maintain its unity and to maintain a country that doesn't, or individuals in a country that don't know the history, the foundations, the values of this country, they would then the people who live in this country will not have a common identity. What unites me? What is common between me and you? Coming from different countries,
families that come
different
from
different language, could be different skin color, different religion, and so on and so forth. Don't you think that there has to be some sort of a common identity where all of us can be able to live in a medium where all of us can respect who we are and be proud of us being Canadian as Canadian nationalists? So what are we doing to do that? It seems that we're not doing any kind of work and any kind of focus on this. And this creates, and you asked the question, if an individual come here from different part of the world, there's no jobs, no opportunity, and then for whatever reason that person is not learning the language, that person is going to go and live with the same group of people that they live in, and eventually you're going to live in a ghetto. You're going to live in a situation where you're not being integrated. So there's no more integration, and that's, in my view, that's not good for any country.
No, it's not good for the people that are in that community either.
Not good for them. Absolutely.
At the end of the day, I really think one of the things I love about our city. And our country, but just as a microcosm, our city. And the time that I've been here, so 15 years, we've seen a lot of diversity come into the city. With I would say a relatively high amount of integration.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean people leave everything behind.
Mm-hmm.
We have seen better restaurants, more interesting conversations.
Of course.
A lot of ideas that we wouldn't have thought about that have kind of brought it to the business community for both of us. I mean, we're both in business.
Sure.
But it's that add a lot, right? And it's that collaboration and that integration, and is for me, I think that's really important. But part of that, I think the root of that is that there's a reasonable amount of belief that the people coming here will have economic success.
Everybody wants success. Yeah, absolutely.
And without a good economy. I think that really puts a lot of people behind the eight ball. Yeah,
I mean, and again, you said the word integration, right? So of course, we pride ourselves as a multicultural society, and and immigrants they do add value to the fabric of or to Canadian fabric, of course. I mean, many of them. So it's not just about food. It's culture. It enhances the culture. I'm a strong believer in that, but also we have to be a little bit more realistic.
Sure.
Okay, moderation is key as well.
Yep.
If our economy, if we are in an economic stagnation and we don't have housing, going back to the same thing, I know I'm repeating myself, we have no jobs, then those newcomers, especially comers from maybe diverse backgrounds, they're not going to get integrated.
No.
And how is that beneficial to the Canadian fabric?
Yeah.
Right? Or to Canadian identity? It's not good.
Well, it hurts our reputation internationally too, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So
people in and then driving them into the ground.
So I believe that we need to do a little bit more better. We need to go back. We need to fix the immigration issue, because also about immigration is the demand.
Yes.
So one of the problems about, again, going back to, I mean, let's talk a little bit about the negative impact of mass migration, right?
Sure.
When it's not based on economic needs.
Sure. Yeah.
What does that do? It creates huge demand. Huge demands on what? Like, let's talk about housing. This is our expertise, is housing.
Sure.
One of the reasons why housing has skyrocketed in price is because of the demand. Yep. So we talk about the supply, that we're not building enough affordable housing, but also why houses have gone up is because of the huge demand. When we have a house that goes listed, that goes on sale, and we have like 20, 30, 40 offers, what do you think is going to happen to the price?
And then at the same time, it's also not, it doesn't make economic sense for builders to build right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So there's no foresight or no potential for us to resolve that issue.
Yeah.
But we continue to increase the population base.
Yeah. So I think we need to go back to, again, call it common sense. We need to, so one of the things that has to happen as well is that we have to change the way we look at economy and creating job opportunities, right? Canada, even till today, is still not open for business. A lot of businesses are leaving Canada. Factories are shutting down. The Bay just shut down. Anyway, so when we talk about affordability, one of the things about the lack of affordability is also the lack of jobs and good paying jobs as well. So once you start, once you have a booming economy, then everybody benefits. Everybody, newcomers will benefit, and then so I think now we need to slow down immigration, to a level in order for us to fix, the economic mess that we're in, and once that fixed, then we can bring in more people. That's no problem. It's just, but it has to be a balance. It has to make economic sense, right? Yeah. Right now, it doesn't.
I would feel terrible. It's kind of like inviting someone to your house for lunch. And they're like, well, actually, I didn't go to the grocery store, right? There's nothing here for you. Yeah. I would feel terrible inviting people to our house.
Yeah.
And then tell them that they have to bring the food. Right? Because it's just not reasonable. They're leaving their house to come to our place for lunch.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, we're not providing what we promised, right?
Yeah, so, absolutely. So,
on that note, why don't we wrap this up a little bit? I've got 3 questions for you.
Yeah, please.
3 kind of random, somewhat related questions, and we'll just kind of wrap it up with that. So, if you could change one thing about the elections process in Canada, what would that be?
Oh yeah. First and foremost, I think, we've seen what happened with Pierre Poilievre's election and by-election.
Sure. Yeah.
So in the last by-election, he was running against 209
something like that,
independents.
That was the one in Battle Creek Grove?
Yeah, Grove. This is becoming a joke. All right, this is not democracy. This is like a mockery of our democracy. So I think the election Canada should basically put maybe more stringent, I would say, conditions for anybody who wants to put his or her name in the ballot as well. Because right now, all you got to do is just gather 100 signatures, and that's it. And then you can put your name as a candidate. Okay, are you really running to serve your constituency? Are you really running to fix the problems and contribute to the betterment of this country? Or are you just running here just for the heck of it, right?
Well, I saw that too. And the question I had is, are you running to get elected, or are you running to prevent someone from being elected?
Well, yeah.
And that's 2 different things, I think.
It's strategically. That's what it is. But that's a mockery we're no longer a democracy if you allow those kind of things to happen, right? So I think that has to happen. We have to also make sure, but this is also election interference, right? It doesn't serve, those who are actually, whether you're conservative or liberal or NDP. All these candidates, they're running based on, they represent parties, and they're definitely, their hearts and is into it. That's fine. It's fair for them. But it's not fair to have like 210 people running. It just doesn't make any sense to anybody. Not just for conservative, but also to whether you're liberal or an NDP or anything, or any political affiliation.
Well, where my head goes to too, and I think a lot of the independent news sources touch on this, is for the people that have like vision difficulty, or they have trouble getting to the polls. I know in the last election I was actually driving seniors to voting stations. Because that's a way that I can contribute to people that might not otherwise vote. Right. But for people that have vision trouble, or maybe they're dyslexic, or whatever the issue is, they could have mobility issues. To get them I think it was a meter long or 2 meter long ballot initially before they did the write-in thing, I think. I feel like that really circumvents the spirit of an election.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing that I would love to see happening. Did you know that you can, when you go and vote, you don't have to provide proof of citizenship?
I did not know that.
Okay. I want to make sure that if whoever is voting is a Canadian citizen.
I think that's fair.
We trust the system, but then we want to make sure that there's no abuse of the system as well.
Yep.
So I think what I would like to see is that, if you go in there and if you go in and you want to vote, you got to have some kind of a proof of citizenship. If you're a refugee or a PR, you're not allowed to vote. Could that happen? Yes, it does. So that's an issue, and that's one thing that I would like to see.
I have kind of like that happening. In not the leadership campaigns, but the for the candidate writings. I've heard them bussing in. There's rumors of bussing in students and minors and stuff like that, and people to get the right the candidate the party's choosing, or a lobbyist is choosing into a position to.
So one of the things about being you can be a PR, you can be a permanent resident and vote within the party if you want. That's allowable. But for example, again, going back to the actual election, whether it's provincial or federal, you got to be a Canadian citizen. One of the things as to why we don't ask is because it's an infringement of privacy rights that we're not allowed to ask you if you're Canadian or not. But
question on that.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because of the Emergencies Act, but if it's an infringement of privacy, during COVID, people needed to know your medical
History.
vaccine status.
Yeah.
You know, right or wrong. I'm not on one side or the other. I'm just saying that, but that's another instance where you were required, in order to participate in public events or go out in public, you were required to disclose private medical information.
Right.
So if they're okay doing that, why not during an election?
Yeah, exactly. That's a very valid question. Why are we not doing it, right? And again, this is not about infringement of the Privacy Act. This is about enhancing the democratic process. I really would love to enhance it and make it more democratic. And again, that's what we need to do. And again, that's just the way it is. If you're Canadian, then you're allowed to vote. If you're not, you shouldn't vote. And if we don't enforce those rules, then we open up, chances for an abuse of the rule, right? That's what it is. That's what I would like to see. I can't think of anything else.
Okay. What was my other question?
Yeah.
What is the one major thing in Canada that not enough people are talking about? Maybe you know it. Maybe you guys talk about it like in your circle of friends. But what's one thing in Canada that should be talked about more that isn't talked about more?
Oh, that's a very good question.
It's a very open-ended question.
Yeah. I believe that we are talking about pretty much every single issue. One thing that we really need to do is not to be afraid to express our opinions because we fear of being labeled as racist, bigot, far right this, and to be canceled. I think all of us should there is so when it comes to free speech and hate speech, we should be able to allow people to express their opinions.
Sure.
Even if so for example, if you work somewhere, like you're part of a large corporation, and I know a lot of workers, they're afraid to express their opinions because of they're afraid that they're going to be canceled.
There's professional consequences.
Yeah, exactly. Political correctness. So it's okay to have a kind of like every corporate culture should have a culture. We should go abide by it. I'm all for that. But there was a time when you can be able to speak freely without being labeled.
Yes.
So why is this happening? This is not about again, it's okay to disagree, and conformity sometimes is good in large corporations. But again, we need to go back and maintain that civil discourse. We should be able to disagree without being canceled. And we don't do much, we don't talk much about it. And because the minute you start talking about that, then you might get into the situation where you're labeled as in a certain label which you don't want to be labeled with, right? And so it's free speech. Let's protect free speech. But also, let's be very careful. There's a thin line between free speech and hate speech.
Yep.
I don't advocate for hate speech. I think we're smart enough, Canadians are smart enough to know
Sure.
Our values are all about respect of the other. It's about compassion, and it's about coexistence, irrespective of our differences, right? Sure. Let's maintain that, and let's be civil, right? And let's not label anybody else with certain labels, because that's not good for democracy. The easiest thing to do is to label someone with something negative, so you can be able to get more support. But is that really good for democracy?
I got a side question for you guys. So when we talk in terms of Canadian culture, one of the things that pops up more than anything else, is that Canadians are polite.
Yes.
Right. When I'm out showing homes with a client, or I have a listing and I get feedback from a showing, because we always send out forms like, what do you think of this homes, or not coming in. More often than not, everyone's polite. We love the home. Mm-hmm. It's priced perfectly. Is there an offer? No. Right? People don't want to offend. I think.
Yes.
I think what we've seen more in the last 10 years, more than anything else, is that people take advantage of the politeness by labeling instead of being polite, and with the expectation that we know that if we label someone, people will be too polite to counter that. Yeah. People are using labels as a weapon. Mm-hmm. And so I want to shut down this argument. I will label you. Mm-hmm. Now you are unable to do this because you've been labeled extremist or far left or far right or racist or whatever it is. And like, I don't know what the pathway back from that is. I think it's a tricky road.
Yeah. So again, this goes back to civil discourse. How can we ensure civil discourse? And again, let's disagree passionately about issues and topics, but let's not get into personal attack, right? Labeling someone with something simply because I disagree with you, I'm going to label you as far right or whatever label, or racist, or whatever it is not going to help democracy, right?
Yeah.
If I disagree with you, okay, I disagree with you passionately. That's the end of it. But let's not get into personal attack. Because labeling, if we start labeling someone else with certain, and then the other side is going to be labeling the other one,
sure.
And what's going to happen to democracy? I'm coming from the point is that we need to protect democracy and maintain civil discourse, and we shouldn't be afraid to offend. Sometimes when you say I disagree with you, you might be offended because I disagree with you, but don't take it personally.
Yep.
And again, I should also be very careful not to offend you as a person, because in a sense that I should not attack you personally. Let's debate issues. Let's attack policies. Let's talk about policies. Debate policies passionately, but let's keep that respect. At the end of the day, we're all Canadians. We all love this country, irrespective of what your political spectrum is, whether you're liberal, whether you're conservative, NDP, whatever the case is. Why are we in politics? Because we all love this country, all of us, irrespective of what our background is.
And we
right?
deserve better.
And we deserve better. Exactly. And so let's talk about what is best for today's problems. Look, I have no problem. Like me as a conservative, if the Liberals comes up and say, hey, come up with some kind of like a policy that's greatly beneficial for, creating, jobs, having a strong economy, go for it. I'll shake your hand on this.
Amazing.
That's how it was. That's how politics was. And it should stay the same. And that's how we define, that's what makes Canada strong, truly strong and prosperous. That is when we maintain our civility, and we are actually, both of us, irrespective of our background, we're working for the best of everybody else, right? That's pretty much what,
In Parliament, you can't address another member of Parliament by their name. It's always the representative from wherever.
Okay.
Right? Thousand Islands, right?
Yeah.
You can't call someone a liar.
Yeah.
And you can't swear.
Yes.
If you could choose other terms or words to be excluded from Parliament, what would they be? I have something in my head. I just want to throw an idea away.
I mean, name calling, or I can't think of anything in specific. Do you have something in mind?
I was thinking in terms of the far left and far right.
Oh, of course.
I think if the focus is bringing everything to center, things will navigate towards the center.
Yeah. This is you're absolutely right. You nailed it. We should never. This is we kind of touched on this before. Is that as voters, please be careful if you're watching the news and there's a coverage, or if there's any debate in Parliament and someone calls someone, this is the far right, this is the far left, or whatever the case is. We need to stay away from all of these labels, because these labels are so negative, and they tend to, when we label you, then we kind of shut down the rational discussion about what actually matters, and we stop. And when we do this, we don't find the solution anymore. It's all becomes the polarization of both extremes.
Sure.
And extremes, by the way, far right and far left, actually they don't really contribute to any solution.
I think they would take away from it, if anything else.
100%. It's a detriment to democratic values. So again, it goes back to respect. We need to stop this label. And the fact that I'm a conservative, I'm small c, I'm on the right.
Sure. Yeah.
That doesn't make me far right. But for whatever reason, that whenever we say I'm on the right side of the political spectrum, this guy's a far right. And if we come up with some sort of solutions, this is a far right solution. This person is controversial, or this policy is, anyway, yeah. So 100%, I agree with you. Those labels we should stay away from, because they don't serve our democratic values. If anything, it divides us. And we're divided, we both lose. Yeah. We all lose. All Canadians lose.
I think the perfect negotiation, I forget who told me this. I was a very new realtor when I heard this. But the perfect negotiation has a solution, but both parties are slightly dissatisfied. Mm-hmm. They didn't get everything they want, but they met in the middle and made it work.
Yeah, we all have things in common. We all can agree on what's best. Can we agree that we need to have a strong economy? Yes. Can we agree that we need to have, powerful paycheck? Of course. Or do we all agree that family should not work, should not work 3 or 4 jobs? We all agree on that. Does that matter? Is this solution only a solution for those who are conservative, or is that beneficial to everybody on the right or on the left? It doesn't matter. This is life and right discussion. I think we should eliminate it. Let's just talk about what's best for Canadians, right?
Yeah, and
that's it. Yeah.
And people always think about like winning the lottery and what does that mean to you and what would you do if you won the lottery? I would always have to work. I have to work. I can't not work during the day. But
yeah,
for me, winning the lottery would mean that of the people I know and care about, the people I love, all the families would be able to have one parent at home and they get to choose who it is. They don't have to work, but the one that wants to work gets to work if they want to, or they can do creative endeavors, whatever it is.
Right.
But I think a lot of problems in our communities and cultures would be solved by having the kind of economy that allows for one parent to stay home. What are your thoughts on that?
A lot of the solutions will be. Sorry, can you repeat that question?
A lot of the problems in our community and culture would find solutions if one parent, whether the mom or the dad or whoever it is,
someone stays at home. Yeah.
I think back to the 70s.
Yeah.
And I wasn't born then, but I hear all the stories from my older cousins and my parents and their siblings. And it was a different time. Maybe it was more simple without the internet and stuff like that. But I think by having a present parent who a child knows, they have to listen to.
Yeah.
Who isn't, tired because they've been working the night shift.
Yeah.
Is able to provide for them and guide them and kind of give that family culture to them.
Yeah. I mean, this is kind of subjective. It depends on the couples and how they decide they want to manage their household and kids and so on and so forth. But the reality is that because life is so expensive, a lot of the parents are spending a lot of time outside working, to income. They come back home 6, 7 o'clock at night, and if they're working 4 jobs, they have no time to raise children. And what happens? Okay, so let's talk about what's best for children. Sure. Children's rights, right? Yep. If we bring children into life, children need attention, big time attention. Yeah. How do we do this? Do we have policies that can help parents, achieve and parents have enough time to raise their children and also raise their children according to their own values? That's another thing we don't talk about.
That's a huge part.
That's a huge part of it. Is that what's wrong with talking about parents' rights as well in terms of education, in terms of their input and so on and so forth, irrespective of what your values are, right? I think that in general, parents, they're not spending enough time with their kids. Kids are being raised, and
I think given the option to, they would. Like, it's not like parents want to work 4 jobs. I think if they could work 1 job or no jobs, then still be comfortable.
Yeah, it'll be up to them to decide how they want to manage. It's up to them. I don't think the government should intervene and tell them, hey, you know what, someone should stay home, one should work, or whatever, whatever the case is. But I think what the government should do is that, again, go back to affordability. We need to make sure that, when the economy does well, a lot of problems get solved.
Yes.
Right? There'll be less stress, less financial stress. Exactly, right? That's what we need to do. And another thing that we need to also talk about is that we talk about immigration, mass immigration, but also we're not talking about helping couples also have kids.
Yeah.
A lot of Canadians don't want to have kids anymore.
They don't have time or money. Right?
They can't afford having a kid. So that's a problem in itself. I mean, I think we need to have more focus on that.
Yeah, I would agree.
If I may say it, we need to have made in Canada babies, if I may say that. What's wrong with that, right?
There's nothing wrong with
that. But that is an issue. So what are we doing here to create the environment to make sure that parents are having Canadian couples are making are having kids and also raising them in a really safe and prosperous environment, right? That is, so government should create those kinds of conditions and maybe put certain policies, and that's the area that we need to focus on.
Of all the seniors I've ever worked with,
yeah,
I don't know a single one that said, I wish I had less kids.
Right? Oh, really?
Yeah. Like it brings a lot of, it's like-minded. It's stressful when they're young.
Of course.
It's the kind of the stress and the joy that you don't expect, right?
Yeah.
It's a weird balance of both.
Yeah.
The joy grows over time, the stress dissipates.
True. Absolutely.
But as you get older, like I see it with my mom and my wife's parents and our kids and their other grandkids. Like there's so much joy that comes to your life because of that. And like I want that for my kids.
Yes.
I want my kids to be able to have that kind of life where they have a big family if they choose to.
Oh yeah, why not? Why not?
I think it makes Canada better.
I think it's healthy for any society, for to have. We need to grow, and again, this is part of the growth of our Canadian economy as well. Is for families to have more children and so on and so forth. It does add joy, like you're saying. It's stressful and it's also joyful as well. You know what? And I think again, at the end of the day, our government again there should be more focus on that as well, and help. We should be able to help couples. Make it easy for them to have kids and put policies in place to make sure that that financial stress is not a hindrance from having kids. And that's something that we need to work. A lot of things that we need to work on.
Well, there's never lack of jobs to do or things to work on. But last question, I'll let you get out of here.
Yeah, please.
It's the most open-ended question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think a lot of Canadians now are feeling stress in different aspects of their life, whether it's employment, income, taxes, whatever it is. Where do you see Canada in 10 years? What does the average Canadian feel like and feel about the country?
Well, I can tell you right now that if we're going to have business as usual, now I'm being biased as someone who ran for the Conservative Party. One of the major criticism is that, and one of the things that we keep talking about is that Canadians we've had like a lost decade. Of what? Of that Canadian dream.
Sure. Okay.
There was a time when you can make $60,000, $70,000. You can be able to afford buying a single car garage home.
Yep.
You can be able to save money for retirement. You can be able to have 2 or 3 kids if you want, and so on and so forth. Our healthcare system was much better. So that Canadian dream was achievable. That if you work hard, you will achieve the Canadian dream, right? You can be able to save money, you can retire comfortably, and in a very comfortable way. That's gone. So what's happening? Governments, our government, and again, governments put policies. Certainly, they usually put policies to achieve the Canadian dream, or they can put policies that can hinder achieving the dream. And right now, the way I look at it is that we understand. If you want to know why the economy is not working, we understand the reason. We talked about the fact that we live in a society where there's way too much taxes. We pay too much taxes. We have way too much regulations that hinders, progress and diminish, our ability to make money and profit and retire and so on and so forth. Okay, if you still have the same policies, I mean, you probably have heard of the saying that, insanity is to continue doing the same thing again and over again and again and expect a different result.
Yes.
Until we start doing things differently, then I can tell you, then I can foresee what's going to happen in the next 10 years. But as long as we continue with the same mindset that created the problem in the beginning, and expect that mindset to actually solve the problem and come up with something better, that is the definition of insanity. And I don't believe at this particular time, I don't see Canada moving in the right direction. Okay. We're going to continue to have a stagnant economy. Our young people are going to continue to not find those good paying jobs. They're not going to be able to afford buying homes. Crime is continue to rise as well. We haven't talked about crime, drug addiction, and so on and so forth. Again, it's business as usual. I might sound a little bit pessimistic. I wish I'm a bit more optimistic. But look, one of the things I believe strongly in is that we Canadians are, we're highly educated. We have lots of opportunity, right? We just need the right conditions and the right policies to unleash our potential. And until that happen, I foresee things to be business as usual, if not getting worse.
Okay. Yeah. That's fair. And you know what? Yeah. Touching on the pessimism.
Yeah.
I forget who told me this again. I was a younger realtor, And like people don't like to listen to pessimism because it hurts.
Yes.
But pessimists who are entrepreneurs solve problems.
Yeah, I mean, you can. I mean, these are obstacles and problems, but you can certainly turn that into opportunities. Depending on the industry, depending what kind of work you're in it. But again, I'm looking at the overall picture of Canada, where Canada is headed as a country.
I was kind of thinking of mindset. Like if we recognize there's problems and we're not afraid to vocalize them.
Yeah.
People label that as pessimism.
Yeah.
We're vocalizing a problem. We're working on a solution.
Exactly. I'm an optimist. I'm not a pessimist. All I'm saying is that, but I'm a realist.
Yes. Logic.
So let's identify the problem. Let's say that there is a problem. Okay, if you agree that there is a problem, that things are not normal, so let's talk about solutions,
sure,
right?
Yeah.
And if you don't admit that there is a problem, then things are not going to change. That's what I'm saying here. Right?
Yeah.
I would love to be a positive person, but that's basically what I'm coming from.
I'm trying to re-gear this.
Yeah.
It's like an entrepreneur. I'm just spitballing ideas right now. So like an entrepreneur is an optimist who sounds like a pessimist who wants to bring everyone up to the optimism side, maybe. Something like that. There's got to be something.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah. I'm a realist. I'm just saying that. Look, I believe in Canadian potential. We're a proud nation. We have massive resources. We've got we've got great history, and we can do much better, and we can do much better. We just need the right conditions and the right policies. So
I think doing much better is going to create a lot of excitement. Like I think the people that have lived here and have not experienced how great Canada can be, are going to be not only the biggest benefactors, but the people that wear the biggest badge on their shirt about how proud they are to be here.
Absolutely.
Adam Benni, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.